Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Here in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this very easy princess dart dress that has like a circle sleeve. It was actually suggested by someone. I hope you guys had a good Christmas break, and yeah, so I'm wishing you guys a very lovely new year, and let's get into the video. So first thing I'm going to do is so as you can see, this is already folded. I folded this fabric into two, and then I also folded this second one into two. So but one is the back panel, one is the front panel, and then so basically the width of this here, the one the person sent to me is in form of a shirt, how to make a princess dart shirt that has this gathered circle sleeve, but I'm making mine in form of a shirt dress, you understand? So instead of making it a shirt, I'm making mine in form of a dress, like a knee-length dress. So if you want yours to be a shirt, all you have to do is just to change the length. So let's say normally my dress is 41 or 40 inches. So my knee, shoulder to knee is 40. But if I wanted it to be a top, I would have stopped at, let's say, 24, somewhere here, just right before my hip, because my hip is at 26. So I'll just stop somewhere here and turn it into a top. So, but this is just a dress, but every other thing is still the same. So the width here is basically my hip measurement divided by 4 is what I'm using here, plus extra 5 or 4 inches. You understand, for my seam allowances. So basically, you're going to use your hip measurement to divide it, as long as it's going to be a top, because that top is still going to come down almost to your hip, where your hip is. So it's better to use the widest part of your body, divide it by 4, and then add extra 4 inches. So once you've done that, the next thing you're going to do is to mark from your shoulder to your chest line, which for me is 10, my shoulder to my under bust for me, which is 15, my shoulder to waist for me, which is 17.5, shoulder to hip, which is at 26, and then the length of the dress plus seam allowance, which is at 42. So now let's go in and insert measurement. So we are going to go up here and mark your shoulder measurement divided by 2. For me, that's going to be 8. I'm going to come down here, mark 1 inch of shoulder slope. Guys, if you don't know how to get this armhole length here, or like that will serve as your chest line, what you can do is just use your bust measurement. For me, my bust is 42, divide it by 6 and add 1.5 to it. Whatever you get is the length you're going to add here as your chest line. So I'm using 9 here, so which is here. So I'm going to just connect it in a straight line all the way down here. So basically I'm going to also find 8 inches here, and then connect the two lines together this way. I already have a detailed video on how to make a princess dart dress, but it's just that this one here is going to have a button, and is a button down dress. So guys, once you've done that, I'm going to come up here, put in my 3 inches of neckline, 3 inches of neck depth, and then I'm going to connect the two together this way, and then connect the shoulder slope together. Then after that, you're going to do your nipple to nipple divided by 2. So the nipple to nipple I'm working with is 4 inches, sorry, 8 inches divided by 2 is going to be 4. So I'm going to go ahead and add half an inch to it, mark it on this line, and then when I come down to this particular, the second line, which is my chest line, under bust line, and then waistline. So on the chest line, the second line here, you're going to remove that half an inch and just mark only 4 inches alone. I'm also going to bring that 4 inches and mark it here also, and then come down here also on my hip line, mark the same 4 inches, and then on the lower part of my dress, which is the dress line, mark just that 4 inches. The only part where I added that half an inch was at this top part here. So once you've done that, all you have to do is just to put your ruler and connect your lines. So I'm going to connect it to this one here, connect it to, guys, if you make a shirt in this here, you can always change the sleeve and make it your own, but this one here, I'm just making it into a dress. So I'm going to connect it to this point, and then once you've done that, it depends on your size, right? You are going to go out here and mark 2 inches. If you're more on a smaller size, you can do 1.5 for your darting here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 2 inches here, mark it 2 inches of darting here, and then also come in here 2 inches. When I say 2 inches, I mean distance of this line to here, distance of here to here. So I'm also going to do the same thing at the lower line, right? And then I'm going to connect all of them together. So you're going to use your ruler again, go back in and connect it together. From here also to this point. And once that is done, now we are going to now come in here to put in our mark. So guys, now the next thing you're going to do is at this bust measurement, I'm just going to divide my bust by 4. Like I said, my bust is 42. I'm going to just mark, divided by 4 is going to be 10.5. Go ahead and mark that here. And then on this line of my armhole, like I said, how you're going to get this chest line is just your bust, that same bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. Whatever you get, you come down here as 1 inch and then add that as the chest, your chest line, the length for the chest line. So like I have 9 here, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find halfway through that is going to be 4.5 here. I'm going to come in here by ½ an inch, right? And then I'm going to connect it in a straight line to the top, and then in a curve from where my bust measurement divided by 4 is to this point now. So once you've done that, once that is done, put back your tape again now from the beginning of this point here, and then you're going to measure to the chest, the bust line, like where you marked your bust measurement divided by 4. So actually this curve that you made here, find halfway through that. So for me, halfway through is I have 10 inches here, so half of it is going to be 5, which is somewhere at this point now on this curved line. So you're going to connect it to this, your nipple to nipple measurement point that you have here. So now what you're going to do, if you're more on extra large, like extra large, you will do 1 inch or away, 1 inch down here. If you're more on the medium size, you can, or large, you can do 1.5, share it in between the two of them. It depends on the size you have. So I'm going to just do, let's say 1 inch below and then 1 inch above that line, right? And then I'm going to come up here by 1 inch before you get to the nipple line, and then connect it together this way and then also this way below. Once you've done that, the next thing you have to do is this lower line here, I'm going to extend it a little bit more, right? The lower 1 inch line that you came down by, extend it a little bit more. So you're going to extend it and add back that whatever you decided to use here, which is 2 inches for me, I extended it again by 2 inches so that when I'm adding it back, it will not be shorter. So now you've done that, you're going to also come in here and put that 2 inches again. Whatever you decided to use here, if it's 1.5, add it back here. So like I said, I used 2 inches, so I'm putting back that 2 inches here, and then this is now going to be my new armhole. So I'm going to curve it down this way. This is now my new armhole, and then all I have to do now is put back 2 inches of sewing allowance. Come down to this is my under bust line, so this is my waistline. Divide my waist by 4. So whatever I have as my waist divided by 4, which is supposed to be about 8.5, add 2 inches to it, which is this 2 inches from here, put it back. And then I'm going to put 2 inches of sewing allowance. Then come down to your hip. Divide your hip by 4 for me, which is 48. 12. 48 divided by 4 is 12. So take back these 2 inches, put it in here. And then I'm going to add 2 inches of sewing allowance. You see why I said to use your hip measurement? Because you see, for the rest of them, there's still fabric left here after marking all my seam allowances. But you see, for the hip, is exactly the whole measurement. So if I use my bust now, when I get to this point, it will not be enough. So use the widest part of your body. If you're more bigger on the upper part, use the bust measurement to get the width of the fabric you're working with. So the same measurement I used here is what I'm going to put at the bottom. Except you're trying to make it a pence, then you can try to reduce it maybe by 1 inch here. But I'm going to just use the same thing, keep it straight down here. So all I have to do now is just to connect to this point, and then connect from here out to this point, and then connect from the bust in here. You can use your ruler for you to get a straight line. So that's basically it for my princess dart top. So all I have to do now is to separate the front and the back, because like I said, it's not the same measurement I'm using for the two. So I'm just going to separate it so that I don't cut it, but it's just the same width of fabric. So guys, don't forget to come down here by 1 inch here on this line. Come down 1 inch here and then connect it to this part here in a curve this way so that you can get that bust curve. If you have your curve ruler, that's even better. Just use it this way to get this curve for the bust part here, or you can just use your hand to draw it in, right? draw it in the curve for the bustier. So now all you have to do is just to go from here. Now I'm going to cut all the way up here, go into the armhole this way, go and then cut all the way to the top. So guys, as you can see, I've gone ahead and finished this one. So this is what it looks like in the meantime. So we'll set it aside and then we'll move over to the back panel. So you see the back panel is still exactly the same thing. The reason why I cut the width of the fabric together is that in case if you want it to be something that has a zip, right, then you would just go ahead and draw in a line here and that will be your zip. But since this is not going to have a zip, it's just going to be on a fold this way, because the button, there's still going to be a button in front. So let's go ahead and cut this one. So the lines I have here are basically my shoulder to my chest line, which is 10, shoulder to my waist, which is 17.5, to hip 26, and then the length of the dress plus the seam allowance, which is 42 in total. So all I have to do is just go up to the shoulder now and mark shoulder divided by 2 for me, which is going to be about 16 divided by 2 is 8. Come down here, mark your 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect it to this line here, so to my chest line, right? Just like you did in front. The back is very easy to make, so you're just going to connect the two, and then the next thing you're going to do is just to go ahead on this same chest line, insert your bust measurement divided by 4, which is this 10.5 for me. So what I'm going to do now is just to connect it this way like a curve to this part here, just blend it into this armhole line. So I'm also going to go ahead and mark my neckline, which is also 3 inches, because remember this is a shirt neck that we're working with. Connect it to this part here. So once you've done that, now the next thing you're going to do is to measure from this armhole line. Find halfway through that. So for me, I have 10. Halfway through is going to be 5. I'm going to go up on this line by about 1.5 here. So once you find halfway through this your line, armhole line, for me it's 5. I went up by 1.5 on it. I'm going to come down here, mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half an inch, just like I did in front. But for the rest, I'm going to remove the half an inch and just mark 4 inches, right? Because my nipple to nipple is 8, divided by 2 is 4, right? So once you've done that, all you have to do now is just to, on this line, on this point now, you're going to connect it to this part here, from here to this point. And then you're going to connect the rest of the lines together this way. So that's basically how you mark this here. So I'm just going to connect it all the way to the end. And that's it. So all I have to do now is just to come in here on this line. I'm going to extend it by 1.5 also, and then bring it down. So this is now going to be my new armhole. Add that same 1.5 on this side. Guys, like I said, I already have a tutorial on this this whole princess that dress. It's just that I'm trying to make it in a form of button down. So now all I have to do is to add 2 inches here for my seam allowance, right? And then come down to my waist, do the same thing, waist divided by 4, mark it, and then add my 2 inches of sewing. The same thing at the hip, hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches of sewing, you see. And then down here, the same thing, the hip divided by 4 is what I'm using here, plus the 2 inches of sewing. So now all I have to do is just to go ahead, come down at the neckline by 1 inch for the back neckline, and then I'm going to just go ahead and connect the lines. So just connect from here, from the bust to, you're going to connect from the bust to the waist, and then from the waist to the hip, and then the hip to the end of the dress, and then you go ahead and cut. So I'm going to go ahead and cut now. So guys, this is it here. So basically all you have to do for the back panel is just to separate it. Just cut a straight line following that line that you made. If you see, if I put it together now, it's back, but you see the front one, we had to take away that 2 inches of that in between it. So that's basically it. So now let's go over. So all I have to do now is just to open up this back panel like this, join it with 1 inch on this side, just put this like this, go ahead and sew it down. Join it with 1 inch on this side, and this side is done. And then I'm going to put the other one on this other side, and it's done. So the back will be ready. So but for the front now, we are going to deal with the because remember it's buttoned down. So what you're going to do is you're going to split it open. So this is, remember this is the center front, right? So you're going to split it open from here to the top. Guys, this is it here. All I have to do now, once I split this open, the front, so because it's going to be a button down, right? So I need to add a placket for the button. So what I did is, you're going to cut out 3 inches of wheat fabric, but it's going to be the same length as from the top to the bottom, but it's going to be 3 inches of wheat. So all you have to do is, you can take it this way, fold it into 2 like this, and then join it here. You know how you join, like tucking 1/2 inch at this end here, tucking 1/2 inch at this end here, fold it, and then just take this one and put it in between like this and sew it. It will give it this extension here. At this point here now, you can even change the color if you want. You can use like a black to run the center part here, and then you're going to do it on both sides. Or if you don't want to do it that way, another way to do it is just to fold the fabric you're working with into 2 this way. Just fold it like this, and then just take it this way, sew it down this way. Once you sew it down, you turn it over this way, and then you have your placket on this side. Do it on the other side too. And once you're done, take this here, join it to the side, and the front and the back is done. You join the 2 shoulders together, and then I'll bring it back and show you guys how we are going to cut the sleeve and everything. So guys, see, now I'm going to cut the sleeve. So all I have to do now is to fold this fabric. You see, I'm cutting 2 at a time. So all I did here, it depends on you. You can use more fabric if you want to. So I'm going to just fold this into 2, and then I'm going to fold it again because I'm cutting 2 sleeves right now. I'm also going to fold it this way. This, I'm going to attach videos on how to do each of them, how to make this princess dart, how to cut a circle sleeve, how to make a collar, so that you guys will see each of them separately, more detailed. So once you've done this now, you're going to take it, the edge that has the fold, not this part here, the edge that has all the folds is where you're going to place your tape. You're going to put your tape there, and then you're going to get your measurement all the way around. So I'm working with, let's say 11 inches for the whole sleeve, both the turning and everything, because I'm going to be using lining. You're going to mark 11 inches, almost as if you're cutting a circle skirt, right? And then you're going to mark it all the way around this way. And once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess, right? Then the next step is going to be to, you see, now that I've cut it off, the next step is I'm going to use this side as the part of the sleeve, right? So it depends on you which side you want to use. So once you've done that, I'm going to go ahead and notch this part here, so that I know where the center of my sleeve is, so which is this notch that I made here. And then I'm going to just insert an opening for my sleeve. It depends on you. You can make it in form of a circle from here, this way down. Or if you want, you can just, any way you want to do it, just make sure that the opening you have here is enough to fit into your sleeve, right? So I'm just going to use this much for it, and then I'm going to cut this part out. You see? So now I have my circle sleeve that is going to drape from this point here and just fall over. If you want it to be like the one on the picture, then you're going to make it even bigger. That way, when you cut it out, so that this opening will be bigger, so that you can gather it. Because if you look at that one, you will see it's gathered, right? It's gathered around the sleeve. Like the opening here will be wide enough to gather around the opening of your sleeve. But you see, mine might just fit exactly the opening of the sleeve. So once you have it, it's going to fall over this way. You see, I don't know if you guys can see. It's going to fall over this way like a circle sleeve. So now I'm going to go ahead and couple everything together, and I will show you guys what it looks like. So guys, this is it here. I've gone ahead and coupled everything together. So basically, once you cut it, you can use lining to turn up your sleeve, because I wanted to have a touch of black. So I just cut exactly the same sleeve, but in lining, and then closed up the edges, and then attached it to the opening of the armhole. So this is it here, and this is the body of the dress. So for the collar, like I said, I already have a video on how to cut the body of this hair, like this particular princess dart. I already have a video on this sleeve. I already have a video on a collar, and then even a video on how to put in a placket. So this is just basically, I'm going to insert it down below so that you guys can see any part of the video that you don't understand. But for the person that requested it, if you actually wanted to make it a top, it would have ended somewhere here, right? Just right somewhere here, and it would have been like a top that you can tuck into a skirt, like the one on the thumbnail. So that's basically it. So for the collar, there are two ways to make a collar. Like I said, you can always go ahead and just fold your fabric into two and make it like, let's say, 4 inches of width, and then sew close the edges, turn it inside out, and then use 1/2 inch to fold it in, and then sew it down all the way around your neckline. And once you're done, once it flips over this way, it will turn to a collar. Or you can go ahead and use the normal method of using the base and then having the upper one on it. I'm going to link everything below. And that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.